Welcome to our springtime edition of The Other Side of Victory. I'm James Brown.
And I'm Robin Roberts. We're both ready to swing into spring with our baseball show. Are inner-city kids losing interest in America's pastime?
We'll find out what the game is doing to bring blacks back into the fold. We'll also profile two new National League managers, Don Baylor and Dusty Baker.
We'll also reflect on 1992, the year an African-American led his team to the World Series. And what a job the quiet man, Cito Gaston of the Toronto Blue Jays did, JB.
And a hear for Cito indeed. African-Americans were in a league of their own for more than half a century. We'll profile the superstars of the old Negro Leagues.
We'll also salute Hall of Famer Joe Morgan, baseball's newest author and entrepreneur, who's made a difference in his Northern California neighborhood.
All this and a few other spring tidbits on The Other Side of Victory. Almost 20% of every big league club is made up of African-American players, yet there are very few blacks in management. And that concerns Los Angeles Dodgers Vice President Tommy Hawkins.
Are there people prepared to be in positions in Major League Baseball, whether it be on the field, in a managerial or coaching way, or in the front office, in an executive capacity? And I have to say that there are those people out there. It's still a game of association and who you know, most definitely. You can call it the good old boy network or whatever you will, but there's a lot of networking that has to go on. People hire folks who they are most comfortable with, who they know, or who have been highly recommended by other people. No doubt about it.
Major League Baseball is at a crossroads with black fans. You look around the park and find fewer and fewer blacks. The Commissioner's Office released a study last summer which outlined plans for improved marketing in the African-American community. But Giants manager Dusty Baker fears America's pastime is becoming an elitist sport.
Where it used to be a $2 seat, you can come in and play, pay to see a game. Now, it's going to cost you $40 or $50 by the time you get a hamburger and get a couple tickets and parking and everything else. So, you know, baseball, as far as the sport is concerned, for the fans, is getting more and more affluent, for the affluent people, that can afford to, to come to baseball games.
You don't see black players in positions in the administration of the game of baseball. Players who really donated so much in terms of effort and expertise to the game of baseball aren't getting those opportunities to go in the front office. And I think after a period of maybe about 20 years, the black fans said, hey, I'm not going to keep, patronizing this game because I really don't see anything more happening other than the fact that now we have more black players playing.
In the last 5 years in baseball, there's been so many scandals about ownerships and people saying derogatory things about blacks. I think that's been the single biggest reason why people in the inner city and kids in the inner city are putting baseball at the bottom.
While basketball has shown a dramatic growth among young people, baseball has been slipping in the inner city with fewer youngsters playing the sport than a decade ago. But even the ones playing the game, for the most part, are being ignored by Major League scouts, causing them to move on to basketball, football, and track.
It's still not accessible. As you look around, you see the four-year college situation. You see there are a number of JCs that now will accept the black youngsters that need to have that direction and be taught the game of baseball. Many of the college situations really, they want kids that already know how to play the game. And that's something that really serves professional baseball well, but it's really been a tremendous deterrent to youngsters getting involved in the game. And I think that it's created a number of voids as we start to go up the ladder, with respect to professional ball, as far as developing players and coaches and front office personnel as well.
The game is losing a lot of good athletes, guys that aren't playing baseball, guys don't have an interest in baseball, but now, I encourage as many black youngsters as possible because you can make a good life, a good living, playing baseball. But it is a lot of work and it's a lot of dedication, but at the same time, the rewards are high when you do make it, and then the opportunities are there for you.
In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, players frequently gave of their time to attend clinics in the inner city. There are still some clinics, but far less than there used to be because some of the big-name talent fails to show.
It's important to have these kids to be able to identify with somebody that have made it through the inner city. I did it on my own, and coming from Fremont High School, there's a lot of Major League players that never came back to the city. So I vowed if I ever made it, I wouldn't be a part of that group. I would set my own trend by coming back, giving the kids an opportunity to see someone that was born and raised in this community, that came back and still care about the kids in the community.
Hall of Famer Joe Morgan is one player who continues to give back, and we'll have his story when we spring ahead on the other side of victory.
Joe Morgan accomplished a lot in his stay, and I think one of the best things that ever happened to him was going from Houston up to Cincinnati, where he meshed into a part to become a vital part of one of the best offensive ball clubs in all of baseball. And I think he pretty much redefined the role at second base there.
Joe Morgan rewrote the book on the middle infield when he broke into Major League Baseball in the early 70s. Morgan was a member of the famed Big Red Machine, that incredible Cincinnati Reds team of the mid-70s. But was Joe overshadowed by white players like Hall of Famer Johnny Bench and Pete Rose? That and much more was explored in his book, Joe Morgan, A Life in Baseball, released just weeks ago.
The people who really know baseball know what Joe Morgan was all about. And anything other than that really is kind of frivolous. You know, if you're just going to look at numbers, or you're going to look at popularity from a standpoint of fans, well, then I think you really missed what baseball's all about. And I think you would miss what Joe Morgan was all about, because I wasn't there to be the biggest star on the team or to be the biggest star in the league. I was there to be the best player that I could be and to contribute as much as I could to my team. And in doing so, you know, it brought something back that, again, it was in the book. Nellie Fox said to me, he said, look, the people who stay in the big league the longest are the people who do the most to help their teams win. And that was the approach I took from my first year in the major leagues, from that discussion with Nellie Fox until the last day I played. So I probably was a little bit underrated, but did it bother me? No.
Little Joe was born in Bonham, Texas. He saw things as most children do. Ironically, he didn't experience racism until he moved north to Oakland, California.
The first time you're slapped in the face with racism is probably the most difficult awakening that you'll ever have in anything. I don't care how happy a kid you are, all of a sudden you're slapped in the face with this, and it scares you. I don't care if it happens when you're 5 years old or 20. The first time is very, very difficult to understand.
Years before this Neiman painting was commissioned for Joe's Hall of Fame ceremony, there was his rookie camp in Moultrie, Georgia, a terrifying experience for someone from California.
The frightening part, I guess, is that, you know, we were kind of like in a barbed wire fence in a prison. If you get out, you're in trouble. You know, it wasn't so much to keep us out, but to keep us in, but to keep other people out. It was the problem. And, you know, friends of mine told me stories about when they played in the South, and the Ku Klux Klan would have marches right down the middle of the street, right past the ballpark when they were playing. So I didn't ever experience anything like that, but it was frightening in that you're so far away from home and you do not know exactly, you know, what can happen.
The racism Joe experienced in his early years made him stronger as a member of the Big Red Machine, with Joe taking the best philosophically from both Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Part of each one's philosophy helped make me the person that I am. The Martin Luther King theory of we can all live together. We need to be together. I really believe in that. That's where I differ with Malcolm X, meaning we want to go back to Africa. We want a separate nation. I don't believe in that. But I also believe that you can't always turn the other cheek. You have to be aggressive for what you want. You have to make sure that the other people know that you're not asking for this, you demand this because it's your right.
Morgan relates a story in his book about fearing for Henry Aaron's life during his quest to break Babe Ruth's home run mark.
I guess I was always afraid of picking up the paper and seeing some incident that had happened with Hank Aaron. I was always afraid of that. I really was. And even to the last day when he hit the home run, I was still afraid. I was always in my mind, I guess you think the worst. Anything can happen until he touches home plate, that kind of thing. And so I guess I probably, like most other black players, were fearful at that time and kind of right along with Hank Aaron, thinking that how could this happen in America? But in America, they've also assassinated John F. Kennedy. They also assassinated Martin Luther King. You know, so it's not beyond reproach that America could do something as negative or as bad as to try to strike out at Hank Aaron when he's trying to break this record.
Joe Morgan's name surfaced over the winter as a possible candidate for commissioner. Morgan is appreciative, but he's managed to transfer his baseball savvy into Major League business success. First by employing 140 inner-city kids at 3 Oakland area Wendy's. Now here, on this 5th anniversary of the Joe Morgan Beverage Company.
I bought this for my kids and their kids and the future kids. What I want is for the Joe Morgan Beverage Company to be here for the next 60 years or whatever. That's what I want. I want my kids to have a head start. My daughter works downstairs. My oldest daughter works here in the company. You know, my father gave me a great upbringing, gave me the right direction, and without his direction, none of this stuff would have been possible. But I did not have a monetary base to start from. I think that's one of the reasons that minorities are where they are in the economic scale of this country, because each generation has to start over and make his own way. What I want out of my company is for my daughters, whether they want to stay here or not, doesn't matter, or work here, doesn't matter. But the money will come to them from here. They will have a foundation of which they can go forward from. And they always have a place where their kids can work. You know, if they want to work here, they got a job. And that's why I'm in this business and not baseball. People have said, well, you could go in baseball, you could have been in baseball, you could have made a lot. Yeah, I could have, and I think I could have accomplished a lot. But you can't pass along a baseball job to your kids.
His family may call him Joe, but to baseball fans, he's Joe Morgan, Hall of Famer.
There are a lot of great players who are not in the Hall of Fame. And to feel that you did enough to go, and especially on the first ballot, it does humble you. I mean, there's a humbling feeling to know that, and you say to yourself, do I really belong here with these guys? And then I really asked myself that question a lot of times, and I think the greatest answer I got was from, Ted Williams. He said, yes, you belong here, and you're a member of the Hall of Fame.
When the Toronto Blue Jays won the 1992 World Series, it was a first for African Americans. Jays manager Cito Gaston was the first black manager to lead a team to a World Series title in the history of the game. We'll hear from Gaston, armed with his new 2-year contract, when we return to the other side of victory.
He is the manager of the world champs, Cito Gaston. Cito.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank God, my family, and especially these guys right here. They did it. From day one in Detroit, if you could have seen their faces and how determined they were to be sitting on this stage today, you would know what I'm talking about. And they never quit. They did it all year. And I'm so proud of you guys. I swear, be proud of yourself because you're great. And thanks for everything. I really mean that. I really do. And I guess I get a little emotional sometimes, but I've had some great players here. I've had some great people here to play this game, and there's a lot of them still here. But this is probably the most determined team I've ever had here to be sitting on this stage, and they did it all. These guys.
Cito Gaston's postseason managerial performance has been graded by baseball experts as next to perfect. The World Championship title also turned out to be a major sociological step for African Americans as well.
I'm very proud of that. I think it was on Saturday was just absolutely great day for Canada, great day for minorities all over the world, and it just showed a lot of people that if given a chance, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, it doesn't matter what color your hair, your eyes, it just It matters if you can do the job. People have said that, but they don't really know how tough it is to win the division. We certainly would not be happy with just winning our division, but you know, we. You have to get guys to play for you. They have to want to play for you. And by them wanting to play for you, you're going to win a lot of ball games. And that's out of respecting them, and they respect you. And stick with them. I get criticized quite a bit here for perhaps staying with guys a little bit too long. But I tell you, in the long run, you win a lot of ball games that way. I think sometimes people have a mentality here, as far as some critics, that you have to win every ball game. We won 96 ball games. We won our division. We turned around and won the American League East and won the World Series. And, you know, you lost 60-some ball games. So you can't think every ball of the game is critical. Sometimes you make moves that's going to help you down the line and perhaps win you 3 or 4 ball games late on in the season. I know when I first was asked to take this job, I refused it, and a lot of players talked me into taking it, along with Sparky Anderson. And now I look at it as a challenge. I think everybody should have a challenge in their life. And every day I walk into that ballpark, believe me, I have a lot of challenges waiting for me when I get there.
African-American involvement in baseball can be traced back to 1884, when Moses Fleetwood Walker was signed by the Toledo Mud Hens of the American Association. But it was the old Negro National League in 1920 and the Negro American League, founded some 17 years later, which supplied some of the most amazing talent ever to put spikes on. From Satchel Paige to Josh Gibson and Cool Papa Bell.
We were just as much Major League as anybody. And I mean anybody. We had people that could compare with Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, DiMaggio, or anybody else.
I'm talking about fellows like Josh Gibson and Buck Leonard and Cool Papa Bell and Judy Johnson and Quincy Troop and Ray Dandridge.
But I think in the Negro National League and American League, with the Monarchs, the Eli Giants, Philadelphia Stars, Newark Eagles, we played the kind of baseball like we play in the Major Leagues.
Josh Gibson was known as the Black Babe Ruth or the Brown Bambino. Next to Satchel Paige, he was the biggest draw in all of black baseball.
Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson, everyone knew them around the blacks. And not only that, they are superstars. They're in Baseball Hall of Fame.
I can't recall Josh ever swinging and, like he used to say, and leaving his feet, you know. He always had that even, smooth swing with power. And he would hit the ball, and it would just leave like a golf ball.
The greatest I've ever seen. I compare him with DiMaggio, Williams, Campanella, the greatest I've ever seen.
Josh Gibson's power displays were legendary. In 1932, he blasted 75 home runs while hitting for a .380 average. He is the only person to ever hit a fair ball out of Yankee Stadium.
In Pittsburgh, he hit the ball so far that the mayor stopped the ball game to measure how far the ball went. And this was the kind of a tremendous hitter he was.
And nobody can touch him now. Nobody. I've never seen a fella hit like this, a catcher, and play every day. And he didn't strike out. He wasn't a big swinger. Right-hand hitter, big man, could run, catch, and throw.
Gibson's battery mate was Satchel Paige. On Paige's 42nd birthday, he was sold by the Kansas City Monarchs to the Cleveland Indians. As baseball's oldest rookie, he had a 6-1 record, mostly in relief, as the Cleveland Indians won the 1948 pennant. He later pitched 3 innings for the A's in 1965 at the age of 59. Doubleheaders are rare today, but the Negro League stars played as many as 4 games in one day and loved it.
When the Newark Bears were away, then that's where we would play. And we would play like a doubleheader there and then go to Trenton that night and play a night game, you see? So that's 3 in one day.
I have played 4 games in one day.
But you see, when you're doing something that you love, you don't think about all that. You know, I mean, we just loved the game, so we played it. And we didn't get treated that well, We played in ballparks we couldn't dress in. You know, we couldn't go to the. You couldn't stay in the white hotel. You couldn't eat in white restaurants. You couldn't do any of these things.
Despite the prejudice along the way, the Negro League vets refused to look back in anger.
A lot of people ask the question, say, well, didn't that make you bitter? And all? No, it didn't make us bitter because we loved the game so well that we were just satisfied to play under any circumstances.
To a black ball player during that particular period of time, this was living the life and not knowing anything different, you know, having any different experience to compare it with. It sufficed to make them satisfied.
Many major leaguers headed off to World War II, opening the door for the no-holds-barred brand of ball in the Negro Leagues. With diluted talent, lower batting averages, and fewer runs and even fewer fans, business-wise, it was time for the bigs to put the Negro Leagues out of business because of their soaring attendance. Jackie Robinson was signed by the Brooklyn Dodgers, and the game was changed forever.
And these kids today don't remember him. They take all of the millions of dollars that they make, and they don't remember Jackie Robinson. Don't you let them see this show and listen to Don Newcomb say that they better start remembering who Jackie Robinson was. They better start remembering the roots and where they came from. And who gave their life for it? Jackie Robinson, all of us in that whole process. Back in 1944 and 45 and 46 and 47, all those men, Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige and Buck Leonard, all those men gave their lives.
You really understand the term spring fever when you see baseball teams begin their workouts. We'll take you to spring training for the sights and sounds of the 1993 season.
Welcome back to The Other Side of Victory. I'm James Brown, and oh gosh, guess what? The sun's out. Spring is actually here.
You bet it is, JB. It's time to toss a winter coat in the closet. It's spring, and that means the yearly migrations to grapefruit and cactus country.
That's right, Robin, and it's time for Baseball 93. Now, we thought it would be fun to show you what it's like to be a rookie.
Well, you're no rookie, JB.
You,
we're going to follow Rancho Cucamonga, the Class A affiliate club of the San Diego Padres. As you will see, there's much more to the game than fans ever see. That is, until now.
I'm LaRue Baber from Sacramento, California. I play minor league baseball. And it's my first season here in Rancho Cucamonga with the Quakes.
Today you get up and come to the park. Good day for a game.
Here about 2:30 or 3, depending on if we play away, if we got a little commuter, or if we play here.
Oh, this is too small. That's Denzel Washington right here.
They got a college game today, and that's why we're hitting here.
Just take your time getting dressed, and after you get dressed, mess around a little while. And you start to get yourself ready for the game. You start thinking about what you got to do that day. If you're going to be in any league, I think the Cal League would be a league that if you ended up having to play, more than one season in the league, this would probably be the league to do it in. You know, you got pretty nice parks. The trips aren't that bad. You get fan support.
Let's go spread it out.
Depending on what group you're hitting in, you know, if you're hitting, you know, then work on what you want to try to do that day. You try to cram as much baseball you can into the 6 hours you're out at the park, you know. You're trying to do something every time to improve your game if you're hungry enough. When you're playing minor league baseball, every day you're playing baseball. So you have baseball to think about every day. And it is your job, but it's a game, but it is your job. So you have to look at it in that aspect. I mean, this will be my 3rd year playing, but, you know, I'm only 20 years old. Yeah, I'm going to give myself to about 23. And I don't think if I'm not, you know, out of the lower minors, you know, if I'm not AAA by 23, then I don't think, you know, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I need to move on in life. I try to always have something else to fall back on, to think, you know, to think about. You know, that's why I always feel like if this doesn't work out, I have school. You know, I have a brain. So you have to use it. You know, I'm not just a baseball player. I'm a baseball player and I'm LaRue Weber.
Left-handed hitter. Heads up, drink.
We had some other kids who, talent-wise, were close to LaRue maybe, but being 20 years old, you want to give the younger kid a chance. He's got some tools, and I know Milwaukee thought he had tools at one point also, and I just saw him for a week, and he kind of opened my eyes with his speed and his arm strength, and he's got some pop in his bat. And, you know, it was a short read, but I figured, you know, I want to take a chance. I like the younger kids, and hopefully this kid will develop and, you know, to a big league ball player.
One time we were on the bus and these 2 girls in the Jeep and they were waving and she drove up on a divider. Yeah. She messed her car up. And she ended up like swerving all the way over to the opposite side of the road and pulled over. About the craziest I've seen. Not at all real glamorous. Most of the time you have two to 5 roommates, and you know, not all the time when you live in close quarters like that you get along. And, you know, and then the bus rides, I had no idea they're going to be like that.
You gave that to Bill? Yeah.
It's hard not to play, especially when you know in your heart that you're good enough to play, and you haven't really had the opportunity yet, you know, to show what you can do with the team, you know, during the season. So it's hard not to be playing every day. Just the competition is fun. You know, it's the challenge of every day going out, have the opportunity to pass or fail during the game. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I wouldn't give it up for nothing.
Quite a trip, JB.
Baby, that was warm indeed. But you know, seriously, Robin, baseball players of today should spend a portion of each day thanking one Jack Roosevelt Robinson for his courage to break baseball's color barrier.
Oh, Jackie Robinson. There is a member of the San Diego Padres management team that does exactly that. He's Reggie Waller, scouting director of the Padres. Baseball experts are calling Reggie one of the bright young minds in the game today.
Good players are not aware of what's going on in the stands, right? They're aware of the task at hand, right? So right now, on the line.
San Diego native Reggie Waller is one of just 3 African Americans with front office decision-making power in all of Major League Baseball. Waller is convinced all blacks need is an opportunity to succeed as much in the boardrooms as they have on the field.
You're going to lack necessities if you're not a part of what's going on. If you're not a part of the process, well, again, you go back around. The colleges are not recruiting black players, or they will recruit guys like Barry Bonds or the Larkins of Cincinnati. They'll go out and they'll get the guys that are the stars. But what about the guys that are just going to be an average run-of-the-mill, good, solid kid? They don't go after those guys.
Opportunities are not only imperative in Major League Baseball, but in the schools as well. Waller says he's heard there are some schools in Southern California which still exclude some athletes if they are black or Hispanic.
You know, here in San Diego, even as early as the 70s and even to date, I can't say it's probably along the same lines as it was for me. There were certain JCs here in San Diego that black youngsters or Hispanic youngsters were not going to have an opportunity to be participants. There were certain high schools that kids came out and they were fine athletes, maybe not refined in the basics and fundamentals of the game, but good athletes. They were basically cut.
So if the ball's hit up here to my left, immediately drop step, use your feet, and get back to the ball. Try to set up. Really work on your foot quickness here, okay? Great plays, guys. Great plays are not made 50 feet to your right or left or going in or back. They're made from the initial standpoint where you get your break from. If you get a great jump, you have a better opportunity of making a play.
Scouts were basically, and still are by many people, held in about the same esteem as a used car salesman. And that was my first reaction to it. Larry Barton Jr., as I said early on, who also signed Eric Davis and a host of other Major League players, you know, he was different. He approached me totally different than most scouts. Most scouts, they had the reputation from the guys that they had signed that they had basically been treated very poorly by the guys, and they felt that maybe that they had not come around with the appropriate bonus money, what have you. I can't say that I was totally excited about the sign-in bonus when I received it from Larry, but I was more excited about the opportunity to go out and do something I always wanted to do. But Larry would call you in the off-season. He would find out what was going on. He always asked about the family, and basically he was a guy that cared. And I decided that, okay, if I'm going to embark on this scouting career, then I'll have to do things a lot differently than probably most people that have done it previously. I hear a lot of people excited about the opportunity that I have now. And I looked back and I said, you know, this is great. Well, Reggie, you're going to do it. I said, you know, I don't get excited about those type of things. I get excited because now, and I think the only reason I've remained in the game of baseball is because you have a chance to try some of your crazy ideas out. When you have video cameras going on, you have things that you believe in biomechanically, and if your scouting and development process, if they are really what they perceive them to be, what I perceive them to be, then they'll work.
Well, listen, when you come back to the ball, make sure you continue to work hard at it. Okay? Hustle back. Who's up on this side?
We felt that in the selection of Don Baylor, we were getting, number one, a quality leader for our ball club. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a man among men. And without further ado, I want to introduce to you Don Baylor, the first Rockies manager ever.
The Colorado Rockies are making history every day. Just hours after Cito Gaston led the Jays to their World Series victory, the new National League Rockies named Don Baylor manager.
The race part of it, really, I've never been a part of that. I just give me the same opportunity that you afforded other players or former players or guys that really wanted to become managers. And so I've always kind of been on that same even keel that I really never got into just the race part of it.
The new owners of the San Francisco Giants then gave the Baker family an early Christmas present, naming Dusty Baker manager a week before Christmas.
The greatest day of my life so far. The next greatest day of my life will be when we win the pennant and win the World Series.
There's that ball again. See where that ball was?
Up and in?
Yep, up out over the plate. That's that pitch he likes.
The new Giants manager got a head start on the '93 season as one of the skippers in the new Arizona Fall League. Bake was always known as a player who gave 100% every day. How will he deal with today's players?
Depends on the person that you're dealing with. I would prefer everybody give 100% all the time, but it seems like that's diminishing more and more. But you see the top players in the game still play like that, and the top players in the game really enjoy playing the game. I think that's number one. You have to love your work, and but try to keep it as a game at the same time. And the main way I try to approach managing is to try to treat everybody fairly, try to treat them as individuals, but try to teach a team and a group concept.
New Rockies coach Jerry Royster was the manager of the league champion Solar Sox. He, too, is looking to manage in The Show one day, and The Show is what everyone thinks about in the new Arizona Fall League.
Come on! Get out now! Get out!
The purpose of the Arizona Fall League is really to develop each organization's top prospects and get them where they're definitely ready to become a Major League Baseball player. It's been a very good experience for not only them, but for the organizations and all the people involved. It is a developmental league. In the beginning, that was going to be the name of this league, was a developmental league. And you will see a number of the guys that are in this league today playing in the major leagues.
What do you think that was, the Mavs? Mike Piazza?
What's that?
The first pitch he swung at when Domingo was still in. Where was that pitch?
The top trainers, the top prospects as far as managerial and from a coaching standpoint also, guys that have that Major League Baseball feel has a chance to become Major League coaches or managers.
Detroit Tiger prospect Rod Robertson's family traveled from Texas to see their son. The Sun City area west of Phoenix was a far cry from where Rod's dad grew up.
I was born in Tenny Hall, a little place called Tenny Hall, Texas, and we moved to Mauriceville. My daddy was a sharecropper, and he left one night, supposedly, with me on his shoulder at midnight one night, and we would travel during the night and during the day. But we came into Mauriceville, a little place they call Mauriceville, and Sawmill and everything like that. And he ended up in Orange, Texas, and we've been there ever since then, which is, that's been quite some times ago, you know what I mean? But we survived it, and we're doing pretty good now.
He coached my brothers and my cousins, and I was a little bat boy, and he always had me around baseball. And he never pushed me, which is a good thing about my dad. I love and respect him for that. He let me make my own decisions about third round and getting drafted and going to college. I had a full scholarship at the University of Texas to play. And it was a matter of education or money or go play pro now or education. And he never pushed me any way. He said, you make the decision, so you'll be the one that'll be satisfied with it. So I decided to play pro ball, and I don't have any regrets at all.
Heading back home knowing Rod led his team to the title made the trip a special one. And knowing Rod has a shot at the bigs means the American dream is still alive for his family.
I think it's still alive. And if you want it, you can go out and you can get it. If you set some goals in front of you and you work for those goals, and you achieve those goals, set some more goals, and then try to achieve them too. You don't ever want to be satisfied with what you're doing in life, but I think a person should just continue to work, until he reaches the ultimate of goals,
run into just a select few in life who seem to have it all. There's a young man in Cincinnati, Ohio, who falls into that category. He's Barry Larkin, the Reds' 29-year-old shortstop. He is the heir apparent to take over as the #1 shortstop in the National League once Ozzie Smith hangs them up. All this success, and he didn't even have to leave home. One most valuable person, Barry Lewis Larkin.
To tell you the truth, when I was younger, I didn't watch the Reds much. I didn't watch much of any team sports on the tube. I was out playing myself, out there trying to do a Dr. J move on the hoop in the backyard. But I never expected it to be like this. I never expected to actually be here in this situation. You know, once I started getting into high school, I thought I was going to be playing football. Then once I went to college and I started doing well in baseball, I said, well, you know, maybe there is a possibility. The thing is, once I had a vision that I possibly could play, then I went at it full tilt. You know, there was a lot of sacrifices made, obviously, a lot of on-campus things that happened during college that I couldn't attend. A lot of things happened in the minor leagues that I chose not to attend because I was trying to be very focused on what I was trying to do.
Many players are accused of dogging it after they receive large contracts. That certainly has not been the case with Barry Larkin, now making a cool $5 million per season.
After signing such a contract, I feel I have to justify to myself getting paid this much money. I mean, I don't think you can justify $5 million a year to play baseball, but I have to be happy with myself because I have to live with myself. And if I have any kind of setbacks mentally, then that's not going to sit well with me. So I am determined to be more focused this year, next year, and the years to come. There will be no slacking off for one Barry Larkin.
Larkin doesn't put pressure on himself, but casts a big shadow as a Reds team leader. He's a young man his former manager, Lou Piniella, always loved penciling in on the lineup card.
He hits about all fields. He handles a great variety of pitches. It's hard to defend him. He can hit the ball from the right field line to the left field line. He spreads out the defense. He can also hit you 10 or 12 home runs a year.
David Concepcion, along with Ozzie Smith, were childhood idols of mine and still are.
He's trying to make me seem like I'm that old. I'm not that old now. I just been around a long time.
Baseball, and Ozzie Smith in particular, has turned head over heels over his pupil's performance in the last few seasons.
When someone is doing as well as Barry, then right away that's opposition for me. And that's never been my approach to baseball. You know, if you have a special talent within the game, it's important to try and keep the game at as high a level as you possibly can. And the only way that you do that is you share with other people within the game, so that you can pass that knowledge or whatever, that particular skill on. And that's what we do.
Passing knowledge on is all part of America's pastime. And that's the way the veteran Barry Larkin looks at it during spring training.
The veterans on this ball club now are Barry Larkin, Tom Browning, Jose Rijo. These guys are 27, 28, 29, 30 years old. Now, when I came up, we had Pete Rose. We had legends in their own time. You see a lot, like I said, you see a lot of guys in the clubhouse that you don't recognize. You go up to them, you know, talk to them a little bit, and, you know, present yourself to them, you know, see what they're thinking. If they need any help, you know, I'm here to help.
Coming up next time on The Other Side of Victory, Gail Devers is poetry in motion when she glides over the hurdles. But the biggest hurdles of her life have been off the track.
I wasn't supposed to touch parts of my body because I had psoriasis and the scaliness throughout my hands and my feet and everything. And they actually washed me and bathed me. You know, and for me, that was the worst for me because I'm very independent and I was raised to be that way. And that was, you know, like going back to your infant stage where you have to be carried around. You have to have someone take you to the restroom and bathe you and dress you. And, you know, for me, that was the most, I guess, frustrating time that I went through, you know, in addition to being very close to having my feet amputated. That definitely was the biggest hurdle of my life. But, you know, after going through my Graves' disease, I'm very appreciative because it's changed me as a person. It's made me more determined, where I don't feel like there's anything that will ever come up in my life that I can't get over now.
We'll also investigate track and field as a viable sport monetarily. And with 1996 just around the corner, we'll take a look at the hot prospects on the Olympic highway to Georgia.
When you see some of the athletes we'll be profiling here next time, you will come away with a great feeling about our 1996 track and field chances in Atlanta, GA.
And you know, Robin, a lot of times folks don't normally associate black cowboys with the heroes of the West. But there were many heroes, and that Western spirit is alive. We'll meet the black leaders in the sport of rodeo. All that and much more next time on The Other Side of Victory. I'm James Brown.
And I'm Robin Roberts. We'll look for you next time on The Other Side of Victory.
You got it.